Welcome to part 2 of our guided walks in the old town of Chania. Today, we continue our journey in the southwestern part of the old town. This vibrant district, known as the Jewish Quarter, derives its name from the cultural heritage of the Jewish community that once thrived here, with the synagogue being a well-known highlight. As we explore deeper, we'll encounter Venetian mansions and fortifications, Turkish hammams, fountains, and mosques that dot the landscape, each bearing witness to the diverse cultural influences that have shaped Chania's identity. Let's begin our journey at Zambeliou Street, where the vibrant spirit of our previous exploration in the Topanas area converges with the scenic allure of the promenade. As we begin our exploration of this district, feel free to follow along our walk or navigate directly to the chapter of your choice. Number 1. The Great Hamam. We find ourselves now at the corner where a former Turkish hammam stands, a prominent feature of the area. Known as the Great Hamam on Zambeliou Street, it is believed to have been constructed before the end of the 17th century. Its proximity to the adjacent Ottoman mosque of Mehmet Aga underscores its historical context. We'll have the opportunity to explore the mosque further in just a moment. A few words about public bathing facilities. Since classical antiquity, communal bathing establishments have been a long-standing tradition. Arabic bath, evolving from practices of the classical and Byzantine periods, served as the model for Muslim baths. According to the Quran, bodily cleanliness achieved through washing with clean running water is a prerequisite for the purification of the soul and the wellness of the spirit, complemented by prayer. Thus, bathing was an integral part of Islamic culture. Public baths were deeply intertwined with social life. Men and women visited the baths at least twice a week, while fountains located next to the mosques were used more often, especially before prayer. Both men and women could use the same baths, but at different times of the day. In addition to promoting cleanliness, baths also functioned as venues for activities such as sweating, shaving, massage, and hair removal, akin to the services offered at a modern spa. This underscores their importance as hubs for physical well-being. Baths were among the first buildings erected by the Ottomans after conquering a city. These facilities were accessible to individuals of various faiths, including non-Muslims. Additionally, Christians and Jews had access to thermal baths, which included sections with stagnant water. Each hammam was organized into 3 main sections: the reception area and changing room, which remained unheated, an intermediate room here with support facilities and lukewarm water, maintaining a temperature of around 25 degrees Celsius, and the principal hot bath area, where temperatures reached approximately 38 degrees Celsius. The main area also included sections designated for private use, where the temperature was higher. Secondary rooms of a hammam typically encompassed a chamber where a fire heated a copper cauldron, which served as a water reservoir. Dimly lit, hammams relied on natural light through glass skylights set within their domes. Presently, a portion of the hammam has been privately owned and transformed into the Tamam restaurant. The remaining portion of the building is currently inaccessible to visitors. Number 2. Just a few meters away from the Great Hammam, our next stop brings us to a building that encapsulates the rich history of Chania, the Mehmet Aga Mosque and Fountain. Once an Orthodox temple during the Venetian era, then transformed into a mosque during the Ottoman period, later serving as a refuge after the population exchange between Greece and Turkey around 1923, and now repurposed as a shop. Before delving into the details, let's take a moment to understand the broader context of the area's development. Initially, the city of Chania was confined to the Castile area, where noble Venetians resided. However, as the city expanded beyond the Byzantine walls, Orthodox and Hebrew communities established themselves in what are now known as the Topanas and Hebraiki districts. In this vein, an Orthodox temple was erected, dedicated to Saint Ioannis Theologos. It was a basic, two-aisled temple with pointed arches. In modern times, tombs dating back to the Venetian era have been discovered on the floor and can be observed through the glass floor. Later, during the Ottoman occupation, amidst the conversion of numerous Orthodox and Latin temples into mosques, following a complex purification process, the structure underwent a significant transformation. It emerged as the Haseki Mehmet Aga Mosque or Mahalli Mosque, featuring the addition of a small minaret, a mihrab, and an octagonal fountain gracing the southern facade. Presently, only the base of the minaret remains visible, but take your time to appreciate the preserved mihrab and staircase inside the shop and the fountain located on Scufon Street. Before we return to Zambeliou Street, why not take a moment to explore some characteristic buildings in Scufon next to the fountain? If you raise your gaze, you'll notice two wooden structures with distinct features. We've already encountered examples of Sanizi in part 1 of our walk, and here is another one. These wooden structures, resembling an erker protruding from their stone-built first level, are typical examples of the Ottoman architectural heritage in Chania. Additionally, in the surrounding area, you may notice some distinctive wooden structures, reminiscent of the Ottoman period. Also typical of this period are building techniques like Baghdadi and Satma. These structures gained further prominence after a damaging earthquake struck Chania in 1856. These traditional building techniques with wooden frames, known for their lightweight construction and perceived safety, became increasingly popular for new constructions. Doesn't it evoke a sense of history? Let's go back as there are noteworthy facades to explore for our number 3. Check the round skylights that adorn this facade on the first floor and upper levels. In the inside, a beautiful stone-built staircase adorns the building, while at the facade from the seafront features elements from the Ottoman period. We've seen similar structures in Zambeliou Street on part 1. Now, prepare for an intriguing tale. Who could have foreseen that the mundane paperwork one completes when applying for studies could eventually play a crucial role in identifying a building centuries later, even overseas? Indeed, in medieval times, where lineage and heraldry held sway, such seemingly trivial details carried immense significance. The impressive mansion across the street stands as another hallmark of the Cretan Renaissance. Known conventionally as the Loggia of Chania or by the name of its first known owner, Megaro Kladou, this building commands attention. Notably featured on the facade is a relief bearing the inscription which translates to "No one is poor who has a rich heart." This relief played a crucial role in unraveling the building's historical narrative through heraldic analysis. It led to the identification of Klados as the building's rightful owner. While the inscription on the relief is in Latin, it doesn't necessarily imply that the owner had a foreign identity. Instead, it suggests an educated individual who constructed the mansion to showcase his social status. As was customary among the Cretan elite, they adhered to Venetian culture and lifestyle. The inscription itself originates from Leo the Great's renowned sermon, Sermo 40. Hailing from a prosperous noble Greek family, Klados was granted the land for the mansion, as indicated by the abbreviation Locus Datus on the relief. Additionally, the exemption from feudal fees further emphasizes the family's standing and influence within the community. Nikolaos Klados, a Greek gentleman, pursued legal studies at the University of Padua in Italy, which was part of the Republic of Venice. There is even speculation that he may have encountered Galileo during his studies at the Palazzo del Bo around 1610. It's likely that Klados constructed the building upon his return to Chania after completing his studies abroad. The relief prominently features a plant motif, and it's noteworthy that plant translates to Klados in Greek. This deliberate linguistic connection further strengthens the association between the relief and the owner's family name. The facade is adorned with a variety of architectural elements, including intricate corbels supporting the balcony, elegant arched frames surrounding the first-floor doors, pilasters adorned with ornate details, and decorative cornices accentuating the openings. Together, these features contribute to the facade's symmetrical and geometrically pleasing design. Number 4. Venturing now towards the synagogue, a place that stands as a testament to the city's rich history, deeply intertwined with its cultural fabric. Chania's Greek synagogue, Etz Hayyim, the Tree of Life, was constructed in the 17th century. Prior to its establishment, a Catholic church dating back to the 15th century, likely dedicated to Saint Catherine, occupied the same site. Reminiscent of this era are delicate skylines, pointed arches, and intricate stone ornaments. Adjacent to it stood another synagogue, the Beth Shalom, House of Peace, which, unfortunately, did not survive the passage of time. Hebrew communities are believed to have established a presence in Crete for over 2,300 years. The first Jewish communities in Crete adopted the Greek language and, to some extent, Greek culture. Chania's enduring Etz Hayyim synagogue serves as a lasting reminder of the Hebrew communities. However, this poignant history took a tragic turn during World War II, when in May 1944, German forces arrested and detained members of the community for several days. They were subsequently boarded onto the ship, Tanais, destined for a concentration camp. However, the ship was torpedoed en route by a British submarine, and there were no survivors. A few Cretan Jews managed to escape the events of World War II by fleeing to Palestine or the United States. Following the annihilation of the Jewish community, the synagogue gradually fell into disrepair, having been abandoned. Later, in 1999, the synagogue was restored to its current form, despite acts of anti-Semitism that desecrated and destroyed books and equipment. Its mikveh, however, is one of the oldest in operation in Greece. The synagogue operates daily throughout the year, faithfully observing the Sabbath, considered one of the oldest festivals of ancient Israel. Adjacent to the synagogue is an open-air bar that shares the same name, synagogue, situated amidst the ruins of an old building. The bar exudes a Venetian ambience and features two distinct venues with different DJs. The main street of the district is called Kondilaki, notable for its wider width compared to many other streets in the Old Town, a feature forever linked to the bustling and prosperous nature of this area in its formative years. Today, it is lined with restaurants and gift shops, offering a vibrant atmosphere for visitors. As you explore this side of the Old Town, there are several points of interest to take note of. At the far end of Kondilaki Street, as you head towards the town, a narrow passage unveils itself, flanked by colorful buildings nestled against the Venetian bastion. Here, you can catch a glimpse of the robust structure of the round rampart that forms part of the Lando bastion, juxtaposed against modern buildings. For a closer inspection, continue walking towards the small park in the area, locally known as Creo Versali, meaning cold fountain, due to the fountain that once graced the spot. You can then ascend and walk parallel to the rampart all the way to the edge of the old town, marked by the city walls and moat. The rampart has suffered excessive damage in recent years, and has partially fallen apart, making it prohibited to walk on. The city walls are also visible from within if you take a stroll down Portou Street, which will lead you back to our starting point. This route is typically quieter compared to the bustling promenade. As part of our guided walk, we will ascend atop the fortifications using the small steps in Portou Street, hidden between the tavernas. Use Tavern Strata for your reference. This will be our fifth stop. From there, we'll enjoy a panoramic view of the town and its moat, offering a perspective of Chania's historical landscape. Climbing the steps will lead us to a place known as the Russian barracks. From 1896 to 1913, Crete was declared an autonomous state known as the Kingdom of Crete. During this period, Crete was under the oversight and guardianship of the great powers, the UK, France, Italy, and Russia. It was during this time that the great powers established themselves in Crete, and this building accommodated the presence of foreign powers. Later, in 1913, Crete was united with Greece, with the flag being raised in the Firkas fort, a few meters from here, further intertwining these 2 points in history. From this vantage point, you can overlook the Lando bastion, to the south, crowned with a school. The bastion is known by 2 names, Lando or Schiavo, both of which refer to Venetian commanders who supervised its construction. It is also sometimes referred to as Saint Demetrio, named after an Orthodox cathedral that once stood in the area. This bastion, along with the round rampart, is part of the Venetian fortification system built during the late Venetian period to defend the city against the increasingly threatening Ottoman Empire. This construction was considered advanced for its time, creating overlapping fields of fire and providing protection against attacks from multiple directions. Today, this heart-shaped bastion is visible from various points, including Piraeus Street, the bustling Haladin Street behind the art gallery, and many others. However, the most impressive aspect is the aerial views, which denote its size, shape, and connection with the entire fortification system. This specific bastion played a crucial role during Chania's siege around 1645, which lasted for over a month. Initially, the Ottoman army disembarked 50,000 men in Kalimbari, Gonia Monastery, approximately 25 kilometers west of Chania. They then launched an attack on Theodorou Islet, visible from Chania, before besieging Chania itself, while their fleet bombarded the city from the sea. The army constructed an underground passage beneath the moat and used explosives to damage the west side of the fortifications. These damages were later repaired by the Ottomans themselves after they conquered the city through a surrender with honorable terms, which were unfortunately violated afterward. Leaving the bastions and their intriguing history behind, we head towards the sea. In the middle of the west section of the fortifications, there is an additional rampart that can be observed at a higher elevation. It is known as the Priuli Cavalier, named after a Venetian commander. This rampart serves as yet another addition to fortify the system, addressing the challenges posed by the distance between the corners at the west, specifically between the San Salvatore bastion and the Lando bastion. Continuing towards the sea will bring you back to Zambeliou Street, our starting point, marking the end of Part 2. Stay tuned for more fascinating explorations of Chania's old town in our ongoing series. Part 1 was Topana's area. Coming next, Helidon Street, a vibrant pedestrian thoroughfare leading to the harbor, will be the focus of Part 3. Part 4 will unveil the historic center of Castile, encircled by Byzantine walls. Part 5 will be dedicated to the lively promenade. Part 6 will unveil the area behind the market, teeming with shops, bars, and restaurants. Finally, Part 7 will guide us through the enchanting Splanzia area, all the way to the western edges of the old town. Thank you for joining us on this journey.